Hello, everybody. How are you? How was your weekend? How was your booking frenzy? I had 37 when I woke up this morning. And Heather, congratulations on your Gogokid interview. That is awesome. What time is your interview? And do you want to do one more practice round before your interview? Let me know. Uh, and let's see what everyone's chatting about. Okay, mostly talking about a football and things like that. All right, so the reason I chose the topic that I did today, pacing, well, number one, out of all of our friends that go live, nobody has done that subject. But there were several Facebook posts just this week where people were asking about it. Actually, Heather, somebody had the exact situation that you had where they were in an assessment and they ended up being late and had a teacher no show for their next class because the assessment went way over. So lots of people were asking about pacing, and it's actually something I'm pretty good. I am good at it. I'll admit it. So I originally had 3 things to talk about today, but I have a lot of things going on in my personal life. I cannot be on here long today, so I whittled it down to 1 and decided on that subject since that's something the Facebook pages were talking about. Heather's interview is at 1:30 this afternoon. You've been practicing at home. I woke up late, and after this, I'll be jumping in the shower. Okay, sounds good. Good, Heather, that you're good at pacing now. So I'm doing this subject because people have been asking. But those of you who are veteran teachers, when go ahead and comment if you agree with me, disagree, or how you do it different. I had an assessment today. Actually, this girl always falls behind, and I got out of there at 2500. I'll tell you how I did it. So I had a couple people, one specific on the Facebook pages who was asking when this live was going to be, and I know who said wanted to be here, so I hope I see them. And Kim says, I might not be on much this week. I'm teaching till 12:30 this week for extra money. My 10:30 didn't get booked, so I go to listen in. Okay, good. So Kim, can you at iTutor, you're able to book classes later? That's really good if you can work till 12:30. Wow. I might almost hit you up for iTutor, but I'm a little afraid of that. The only thing is that 10 class minimum is what scares me. But that's really great if you can teach later hours than VIPKID. So did you guys see the update that now we can edit our feedback for assessments, which is wonderful. I think I talked about it in one of my lives that we can't do that. I wish Gogokid would allow us to edit our feedback at least within an hour or something. So I have 4 people watching and 4 likes. Thank you, everybody. All right. Does anyone have anything they want to talk about? Does anyone have any questions about pacing specifically? Do you consider yourself good at it? Do you need any tips or tricks for either how to expand or how to speed up if a student is really behind? Kim says, yes, book classes later and night classes. You can cancel the 10 classes minimum with no penalty except losing a bonus. Okay. iTutor's not hiring. Okay. Heather, Kim can get you hired. Well, good. Thank you, Evelyn. Yes, it is my anniversary today. The survey. I saw something about a survey, but I didn't look at it yet. I had things to do after my classes. When you're the one hosting, you have to get ready. So anyways, if no one has anything else to say about your booking frenzy, I will go ahead and get started in pacing. If anyone has any pacing questions, let me know. And let me know again in the chat box if you agree with me, disagree, if you do it different, if you do it the same. Okay, so what I normally do is I don't even look at the clock until about halfway through. So I've seen people on the Facebook pages or other people say they do 1 minute per slide. I don't really like that idea, only because some slides have a lot of reading, some slides are really quick. I feel like you can't just do 1 minute per slide, that doesn't work. So I don't do, and I don't want to be watching the clock that much. So mainly what I do is around 12, 13 minutes, right in the middle, I assess how am I doing. Am I way behind? Am I way ahead? I do make some exceptions. If you're 6 minutes in and you're already halfway through, that the pacing's going way too fast. And if you're only 3 slides in and you're 10 minutes in, that the pacing's going way too slow. So I want to ask a question. Before yesterday or before the weekend when we had the system error, I just assumed that everybody did what I do. I know that you do this, Danny. So the night before, I go and look through my classes and write down like the name, the time, props I'll need. And I assumed everybody did this. But somebody on one of the Facebook pages says, oh, what teachers? Who's preparing ahead of time? I just get on and teach. So do you prepare the night before, or do you look at the slides right before class, or do you just jump in and teach? Let me know what you do. So if you do nothing else, let's say you don't prepare ahead of time, write down the last slide, because sometimes the very last slide is your last slide and it's the goodbye slide. But sometimes there's extra slide or extra slides after the goodbye slide. Usually there's a blank page, and sometimes there's the homework slide. So what I will do is write down the goodbye slide. If there's a homework slide, I'll write down like both slides, like 24 and 25 are the end. Some of the supplementary courses like end, and then they have like 3 more slides of like extension. So with those, I write down the last goodbye slide and the homework slide, and then I write these 3 slides extension, so that you have a cushion, like if you're going too fast, or you only have to get to this, you only have to get to slide 23 to end. So that helps me. I need to know what slide is the end slide to help with my pacing, because I've had times before where I thought the second to the last slide was the goodbye slide, and then this time around there was no like blank slide at the end. So I have to know. So Evelyn says, I jump in and teach. Do you keep note of what's the last slide, or you just wing the whole thing? Kim prepares rewards the night before and have your computer turned up. I also look if it's a new lesson. Heather says, I don't care for the mid-assessment where they have review first. Oh, yes, that's in level 2. Okay. Kim jumps in to teach. Me too, Kelly. I always write down the last slide. Okay, I find that writing down the last slide is like crucial for your pacing. Like even if you do no prep, even right before the class, write down the last slide. Okay, and Danny says, I wing it. I don't often finish. I need your help. Okay, so I have found, mainly don't even bother looking until around 12 or 13 minutes, like I said, unless you're going way too fast or way too slow. So I have found there are certain slides that are both wonderful for going quick and for extending if you need it. The same slide you could either do quick or extending. So I took screenshots over the weekend of slides where I do that. Also, I can go back to any of today's classes because they're fresh in my mind and talk about them. If anyone wants advice on an assessment that's going slow, I had one today, and I will go to those slides and like show you what I did. What do you mean you write down the last slide? The number. So slide 24 is the goodbye slide, or slide 24 and 25 are, homework and goodbye. So you write down the number of the last slide. Like I said, because sometimes there's more, or sometimes the very last slide is the goodbye slide. So write down the goodbye slide, the number, so you know what number you need to get to. Okay, so let me get up the slides that I took screenshots of over the weekend. Okay. All right. Let me get to the beginning. I took screenshots of a bunch of slides, like I said, that, bear with me for a minute. Yes, actually, Danny, I got that idea from another YouTuber too. So, and I was like, I don't know why I wasn't doing that before. Okay, so let me start at the beginning. I just realized I took two of some slides. Okay, I took a lot of screenshots. Oh my goodness. Didn't realize I took this many. Okay, so Marianne says I grab my props classes in between classes because I don't want to be away from the computer. I don't want the parent to think I'm not prepared. That's what I do, Marianne. So I write down what props I'm going to need. So then in between I can switch out real quick. There are times when I don't have time to do it because I'm trying to I know I need to go check on my son, but I try to do that too. All right, so these slides, oh, look at the glare. All right. So this is, you guys can see it. These are the sight word slides. These are perfect. So if you have a student that's running behind, all I do is have them read it. Read those words. Pretty, saw, to, well, for. That's it. We move on. But if you have a student who is, you need to stretch. And if you know ahead of time, like you've had this student before, they always finish early, or you could just tell it's going too fast. You can have them spell these words. You can have them do a sentence. So spell pretty, P-R-P-T-Y, give me a sentence. If they give you a blank stare, give them some example sentences. If you're not sure, let's say this is at the beginning of the lesson, it's a new student you've never had before. This is what I do. I write down the number. So I'll write down like 7. So I know if we finish early, I can come back to this slide and extend. So a lot of times I'll do that, especially with the new student. I have no idea. Nobody told you in teacher to teacher feedback. I have a bunch of slides. I've written down 7, 13, 20. All of these are slides I can go back to if the student finishes earlier. And yes, I know you can play games, but I think it's better if you do the lesson, and I think it's unprofessional and do games any more than 5 minutes earlier. And I've heard of people getting bad reviews for that. All right. So, sorry about the glare. This is short U and long U. So, of course, they need to read them and get out of the maze. If you're running really behind, I will just have them read one word, like one word that's long U and one word that's short U. Now, if you need to stretch, ask them, what words on this slide do you not know what they mean? And they may point to tub. What's a tub? So then you can explain what a tub was. People getting bad reviews for ending and playing games for 10 minutes, Heather. I saw someone on the Facebook page or I got through the lesson at 17 minutes and then the parent gave me a bad review. I didn't leave the class early. I played a game. The parents want actual lessons. So these are ways to stretch. Okay, here we go. This is OO and OU words. Same thing. Pacing's going slow. I mean, if the student is slow, just have them read all the words, correct any mispronunciations. If you're really, really, really behind, like it's 23 minutes, you have 5 slides left, just have them read one of the words. Maybe which one you think they would need the most help with. Now, if you're ahead, ask them what they can do sentences with these words. You can ask them to spell these words. Actually, for this one, I don't usually do the spelling. You can ask them say, circle any words if you don't know what that means. They circle soup. You tell them what soup is. Okay, Heather says, I've been 5 minutes early, but not 10. Yes. And same thing. This is another one, the OO and OU words. And you guys, I mostly pulled from level 3 just because it's right smack dab in the middle. But if any of you have questions about pacing for any of the other levels, I teach everything except level 7, then ask me. Another sight word slide where, again, just read the words if they're slow, or you can spell and do sentences if they're really, really ahead. Yes. Okay. And Heather and Kim play games and play a word game pronunciation. All right. And yes, in Gogokid, you really need extension. All right, final project. I consider this optional, especially if it's lesson 5. Like, they have 7 more lessons till it's due. So what I do when I prepare the night before is I write down the slide number of this and all the slides after it that talk about the project. So I'll write down like slides 21 through 26 are project slides. So now I know if I'm pacing, I only have to get to slide 21 to get through all the content. So if I have a student that's really, really slow, I think it's better to get through all the material than to go over this project. So what I will do is, actually, I had this over the weekend. I had a student who the pacing is very, very slow. I was able to look and say, oh, I just need to get to slide 22 at least. And then I say to the student, I will leave this in the feedback for your mom. So now if you use Feedback Panda, teacher Karin always puts the project in her feedbacks. If you don't use Feedback Panda, just write yourself a note to go back and look. So if I don't go over it in class, I make sure that I say it in the feedback. These are the 3 project options. I didn't have time to go over them, but they need to bring them. Like if it's lesson 5, I'll say, well, it's not due for 7 more lessons. If it's lesson 11, I'll say, bring this to the next one. If it's a assessment number 1, now you can either skip this completely because if you skip it completely, like the goodbye slide is before you even get to the project slide. Or if you have an assessment number 1 that has just flown through and you have 10 minutes left, this can be an extension. Like, you can go through every single option. You can ask questions about the options. If they're an upper level, have them read the options themselves, or you read it to them if they're a level 3 and have them read the keywords, and then ask them questions. Like, do you like to make birthday cupcakes? Do you make cupcakes with your mom or dad? Like, ask questions about each thing. What do you want to be when you grow up? What is your teacher's name? Do you like him or her? Which option do you want to do? When they tell you, you can talk about it even more. Oh, you want to make birthday cupcakes. Do you make birthday cupcakes with your dad? Do you like to? Do you do it a lot? Things like that. So the projects can be either skipped completely if you have a student who's very slow, or they can be used for extension. Today, I had a student that I got to the project slide. It was lesson 11. I had a minute and a half left. So with him, I said, I'm going to go through this very fast, but I'm going to leave it in the feedback for your parents. So I quickly went through the slides and just read them to him. And I said, this will be in the feedback. Bring it to the next class. Kim says, you would do great with iTutor. We have discussions all the time. Okay, good. Discussions on pacing. I mean, having the project slides before goodbye. Oh, yeah. Well, Heather, like I said, I just say to the student, this will be in the feedback to your mom, and I just click through them. And then say to the mom and dad, we didn't have time. I've never gotten a bad review, number 1. Number 2, I would think the parents would rather have you going through the content and making sure their students got the content before you're just talking about this. It's more important they get the content. If they have an assessment, it's lesson 11, they have an assessment in lesson 12, they need to know the content. So I also say, it's, in the Feedback. Oh, thank you, Marianne. It's so funny. I'm normally not organized. My husband would disagree, but I'm good with timing. I think I've told you guys before, I used to work on live TV. So I'm very good with like start, finish at a certain time. Kim says discussion with students, asking questions, getting them talking, extending. Kim, for me, that's something that comes naturally. I like to get to know them. I like extending. That's one of the reasons I love teaching the upper levels. So I actually have to hold myself back if I know that this student, like the pacing goes slow and they read slow. I have to stop myself from asking too many questions. Okay, Danny finished with the difficult reader today. Heather, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Cute, LOL. Okay. Or okay. Oh, spelling slides. Okay, so these, if the pacing's going normal, I just have them spell all the words that are, in the teacher directions, which are usually the sight words. Now, if the pacing is going too fast, do the sight words, but then do some other words for the lesson. Like if they're learning short A or long A or whatever it is they're learning, do some more words, have them spell words that have to do with that. If the pacing is going really slow, you can just do one word or two words. You don't have to do all five. Just do whatever you think you need. If the pacing's just a little bit slow, I have them do the hardest word because I figure that is where they need the most practice. If the pacing's really, really, really slow and like this is towards the end, do the easiest word so they can write it real quick and you can be out of there. Okay, more sight words. Again, sometimes I just was taking pictures over the weekend, so sometimes I repeated more sight words again. Just read them, or they can do spelling and sentences. Okay, so I did one from level 2. I'm newer to teaching level 2 than like 3, 4, and 5. But with this type of a slide where it has the question and it has the answer. This is one where I will also like write down the slide number. So if the pacing's going really fast, you ask them the question, they answer, then you say, you ask me the question. You have them ask you the question and come back. If you don't know the pacing, what I do for level 2 is after I get through, let's say I'm 10 minutes early, I go back through all the slides and anywhere where there was a question, I have them ask me the question. So, okay, this is more just sight words or different words. Again, you can extend by asking them to do sentences or spelling. More sight word. I did a lot. I guess I do a lot with the sight words. More spelling. I know I have some new stuff. Okay. This one, more sight words. With this particular unit, I find a lot of them don't know what must means, and a lot of them have trouble with what does while mean. So you can also explain the definition if you need to extend even more. And let me know, you guys, are these the same ways that you extend, or do you do different? Okay, so this was one of the supplemental courses. I think it might have been phonics, but short A words. So just have, this is one where like I wrote down the number, could come back to it later. This particular student, she was a great student, knew all the answers, but just read really slow. So the pacing was going slow. Okay, this one, the present continuous tense. Oops, sorry. Oh no, okay, I got off my pictures. So I'll just start talking while I'm looking for that picture again. The present continuous tense. Now, if you're behind, okay. So if you're behind, just have them read one from the simple, one from the present continuous. If pacing's going normal, I have them read all of it. If pacing is too fast, see if they can make up their own sentence. They can't always do it, but try. Or ask them more questions to see if, they really have the concept. Again, more sight words. I do all kinds of sight words is one of those where you can totally stretch, go through it quickly. Okay, this. Now, today, I think it was today or over the weekend, I had a student that was really behind. I just asked one question, what is today? Moved on. I have this one student. He is level 3 and he was level 2. Always finishes early. Always. I have to stretch, really stretch with him. I will do every day of the week. What day comes before Sunday? What day comes after Sunday? What day comes before Monday? Um, I know it kind of does make the lesson boring, but with this kid, if I didn't do that, we would finish like 10 to 15 minutes into the lesson, which can't do. And actually, the mom, one of the tags she gave me my 5 apples was appropriate extension. So she likes that. Or maybe it's his dad who's giving me the 5 apples. I don't know. Okay, here is one. Long and short E bingo. Now, if the student is really behind, just have them read one of the words, one of the long E words, and then move on, especially if they're really behind. If they are ahead, you can have them read every single word. You could play the bingo game, which is what they meant to play. You could ask them if they know what the words mean or if there's any words that they don't know what it means. Or again, back to if they're behind, just have them read one shorty and one longie. Just make sure they got the, gist of it and then move on. All right. You have a slides with a lot of reading and you have a slow reader. I will split the reading. Now, I advise you to read first. Why? If you let them read first, and even if you try to say, you read this, and then you circle, I will read this. Sometimes they'll just keep reading over you. So I read first to make sure that I get the reading in it, that they understand. Then I say, you read now. So splitting the reading, if you know they're slow, it's a lot. If I am desperate, like I had one student, she's a regular too. We had like 5 slides left. It was like the birthday around the world. And like 2 minutes, I just read them all to her. That's not ideal. That's just if you're desperate. Again, more sight words. Oh, with this one, another way to extend, aside from spelling and sentences, 2 and 4. So I make sure they know what 2 and 4 mean. So let me get out my numbers cards. So I will say like, 4. Is this 4 the number 4? So if they say yes, they got it right. If they say no, you could say, or is it, I have a gift for you, and see if they know what it means. And then 2, T-O-O, is this the number 2? And see if they know. That's another way on these particular sight words that you can extend. Sometimes they'll get it wrong and say yes, and you say, no, this is not the number 2. See, it's spelled like this. So, okay. Long A words. You can, again, just have them read it and move on if you're behind. If you're really, really behind, just have them read one of the words. If you need to extend, you can try the timer. So when I first started, I was like, I'm not doing a timer. That I don't like to be competitive. But I have learned sometimes it can stretch the lessons, but like boys like to be competitive. So like they like this. I've learned if you use the timer, they love it and they want to race. Girls don't like it as much, so I tend not to do it. Sometimes if I have a boy who's disinterested or I think they're playing video games, do the timer and they all of a sudden start paying attention. Like they want to beat their time from the last time. Kim said, I had a level 2 student with a sentence, this is for you. He gave me roses. Aw. Roses as in, on the screen. And you guys, I don't mind if you talk amongst yourselves. We do that, at everybody else's chats. It's fun. But Maybe type in big letters if you're talking specifically, if you have a question or talking specifically about what I'm talking about. Okay, you do pick a color or number. A box of roses like that he just showed you on the screen. That was nice, if that's what you mean by that. And also tell me, you guys, are these things that you do for extension? And I don't have enough headroom there. Okay, adjectives. Okay, so I think why I made a screenshot of this one is because so this is a lot. So now if you're behind, just do number 1 and move on. So you do have to get through all the slides, but you don't have to do every single one of them on the slides. If they're really, really behind, just like circle the adjectives for them. And again, extension, you can ask them to circle every adjective or what they mean and things like that. Speed vowels. Ask them. So if you're really, really behind, the new one that they're learning is you. Just go over the sounds for the U, the short and the long U, and move on if you're really behind. If you're just semi-behind, quickly go over the sound of each one. And if you're need to stretch, ask them, for example, what's a word that starts with short U? I also have cards with all the vowel sounds. So like here's short O. You can also ask them to read some of these words too if you need to stretch. Danny says, thanks for helping us after teaching all morning. You're welcome. I don't go live that much. Again, another sight words. These are always ones where you can play with the timing. And this has 3 different times, again, which is really good if you're ahead, really good for competitive kids. Again, spelling and making sentences for all of them. This one, now these are short I words that they're supposed to do in a bubble. Obviously, if you're behind, 1 word. If you're ahead, like every combination you can think of, and then there's everything in the middle. Danny says, I'll do number 1, you do number 2. Yep, you can do that. I split the reading. So this is just a picture. If they're behind these kinds of things, you can just ask like 1 question, literally. What is that? This is an apple. Okay. Or you can milk it. What do you see in the picture? Do you like vegetables? So these were just, there's no words on the screen. It's just a picture. This is a level 2. This can be quick or stretched. Here's another one where you can do both. Okay. The goodbye thing. If we're behind, I just read it to them and move on. If we're ahead, you have them go over every line. And then sometimes for level 2, there's always a reward slide. I'll go back to the reward slide. If I used my own reward, then I'll go to the reward slide and have them do it and talk about it. That gives you extra, even more stretching. Okay, Heather says, some kids just click with certain teachers. I love it when I read teacher feedback and the teacher says how difficult the kid is. Okay, again, type in all caps if you're talking about pacing. Marianne said, sometimes I time myself. Some kids love that, then they try to beat my time. That's a great idea too, and some of the slides will say that. All right, short U and long U. Again, just have them read, if you're really behind, like the first one. And then again, same things, timing, sentences, spelling, meanings. Let's see. Oh, okay, more of the feedback. I can't think today. More of the project slides. Again, you could totally skip this or make it an extension for kids that are super, super ahead or anything in between, of course. You could just go over it quickly like I did today or go over it at a normal pace or really, really stretch and ask questions if you need more time. So also what I do, I think I said this earlier, but I write down all the slides that have the project. All right, so what are some other things that I do? I thought I took a picture of one. If you're in an assessment and you're behind, one thing you could do is like, let's say you're testing something, like you're testing if they know to change the Y. You're testing if they know how to make words plural. Let's say you have cry, and dog. Trying to think of another example. Wolf. Let's say there's like 3 of each one of these kinds on the lesson. If right away they do this, cries, dogs and wolves, and they do it right, and you're behind, just give them credit. You already know that they know the concept. Change the Y to an I, just add S. Just add VES. I just give them credit for the rest of them. I know you know how to do it. I'm going to move on. Then again, of course, if you're behind, make them do all of it. Other things that you can do. I'm going to pull up a lesson I had today, the assessment that was really far behind. Obviously, if the slide says, can they read it, and you're scoring them on whether they can read, I don't do it. But if it's like fill in the blank, I will read it to them and then just have them tell me what word goes in the blank. Kim says, great ideas. I do like you do. I extend when I can and hurry when I have to. Right. So the one I had today, I got out at 25 minutes. The math was really hard for her. I practically had to do the problem for her. I'm going to see if I can get that slide. At the end, there was fill in the blanks. I read it to her. She did not get the answers right. Then I got to the end and I had like 1 minute left. I went back to it to see if she could. I gave her one answer to eliminate one of the choices to see if she could do it. She still couldn't. I really wanted to give her credit. The math, wow, she did not understand at all, and we were running out of time. So I had to like walk her through it. So one of the questions I gave her like teacher assistance, and that was stretching it. And the other one I just had to give her a 0, but math is not her forte, but she did get full points in other areas. Let me bring her up. Where is she? Daisy. Okay. I'm going to bring up the lesson from this one. Oh, does it not let you get into the class material once? Here it is. Oh no. So you know how it has material, the slides, it doesn't let you get into it if you've already done the class. Darn. I was hoping it would, because I wanted to show you an example. It was one of those math problems with like 2 steps. So she really, I wish I could show you an example. How can I get into this class? Do you guys know how can I see the material for the class if I've already UA report, materials? Darn, it doesn't let you see the material for that class after you're done. All right, so it's one of those 2-step problems. Now I remember. So the first slide, how many months in a year, how many years in a decade, and how many decades in a century. So you had to know that before you can do the math problem. So it's something like, Beijing or whatever the monument was has been around for 5 centuries, 2 decades, and 8 years. How many years? I pretty much had to like spell it out. Go back to the slide. And so 5 centuries, there are 100 years in a century. So how many are 5 centuries? Okay, that's 500. They said that there are 10 years in a decade, and they said 9 decades. How many years is that? She said 90. And then we have 8 years. So I had to like spell it out for her. I had to say, okay, so 500 plus 90 plus 8 equals, and she got the answer right, but literally like I spelled it out for her. 598. So yeah, but that was how I got through it. All right, tips for getting out at 25. When you get to 24:40, you do all the talking. Don't let them talk unless they're responding to you. So you did a great job today, Daisy. Look, you got 5 stars. You did great on your assessment. Five, whatever. And I will see you next time in the class, okay? When you get to 24:55, you know how there's that prompt? You go to exit and it gives you that prompt. Are you sure you want to exit? Click on that at 24:55 so it's already like up there and you could be saying goodbye to them. So then as soon as 25, click on it. Usually by 5 seconds left, I'm saying, okay, bye. And yes, I do this for 5 seconds. If they leave before you, just stay there for, until it says 25 so you don't get in trouble. And then click off right at 25:00. So Danny says, yeah, they do the math in school, though. I know it's a good to know equals and all the words. I just dislike the math, although they are pretty good. Most of them are pretty good. Like, I have had some kids who have no idea. Yeah. I'd love to know if there was a contest for who gets out at 25 the most, it would have to be me, unless there's somebody else out there who does it. Yeah. So if you've got to be the one talking at 24:40 in order to get out at, with 20 to 15 seconds left, you talk. 5 seconds left, you're waving goodbye, and the prompt is up. 25:00, you're out of there. Now, do I make exceptions? Yes. If I know I don't have another class afterwards, then I'm like, oh, yeah, we can finish this slide. If it's an assessment, I still try to get out by 25 like I did today, and I made it. But I will go over because I want them to, you're grading them and I want them to be able to be graded, so sometimes I will go over if I have to for an assessment, but I try not to. If it's my last class of the day, then we can, I'll get out at 25 if we're done with the lesson, but if we need extra time, especially if it's one of my regulars, then I will. Now, I know on the Facebook pages, teachers get up in arms if you go over 28, and I understand why. It sets a bad precedent. So if I ever go over, I say something in the feedback. I will say something like, today I was able to go over because he was my last class of the day, or because I didn't have a class after. But I might not always be able to do this, and other teachers will not be able to do this either. So I make sure to write it in the feedback so that they know this is not a normal thing. It was special for today. I can't always do this. Other teachers can't always do that. And Marianne says, I love that idea. Preloaded and ready to click. Yes. So you can get out of there right away. Heather says, I never get out at 25 minutes. It's always a little over, but only for a few seconds. Yeah, I don't even like going a few seconds over. I had a student where I knew, this was over the weekend, I knew the time was going over, and I asked her, I said, we're only going to do number 1 and number 5. But then she kept doing all of them, and I didn't want to interrupt her, so I ended up going to 25:10. But okay, Danny says, okay, I have a VIPKID. What are you talking about? Probably answering something that from earlier. So anyways, that's all I have for pacing. I hope some of the people from the Facebook pages that wanted this information, they were either here and didn't say anything, or they will watch it later. Danny says, with the new hiring process, they have to certify for level 2. I wish that's how it was for me. It took me a while to get level 2. And the first time I did level 2, I was so off on the pacing. So that's the thing, you guys. If you all of a sudden certify for a new level, you won't know how the pacing goes. So tell me, is that how you guys do it? Do you do it differently? Do you do it the same as I do it? Do you have other slides that you extend on? Mary Ann, maybe how do you pace with level 1? Since you said you teach mostly level 1s. Tell me what you guys do. Okay. So you guys, this Friday, are you going live, Marianne? Are you doing your very first live? If you do, I have a topic idea. This one might be good for Evelyn too, but I need tips and tricks for level 1. So if anyone could give me advice on that, I'm pretty new to teaching it. And you, Marianne, you said that the LPs recommend you. So give me some pointers on level 1. That's a topic idea for you. I would love to know. Kim says, when we are doing reading sections and going too fast, I ask more questions about it. Yes, extension questions, exactly. I will do that too. If it's going really fast, like every single teacher suggestion question I will do. And you can also just pull out other questions for the upper levels. How do you celebrate Chinese New Year? What do you do? Or do you eat healthy? What types of healthy things do you like? You can just ask more questions with them. It's easier. Kim said, level 1 is fun. I try to be at the songs by 15 minutes. That's about halfway through most lessons. I'm actually not bad with the pacing through level 1. I just start repeating a lot, and they always have that last slide where they have like a bunch of extension. I have more trouble with level 2. Marianne says, I will try to go live and can talk about level 1. Great. That would be wonderful. That's what I want, is pointers on level 1. Thanks for the idea. Sure. Definitely. Do you teach level 2? You can give some pointers too, but I especially need pointers for level 1. Yes, I can't wait too. So anyways, does anyone have anything else to say about pacing? I have a lot going on in my life, if you know me personally or if you've seen on Facebook, so I definitely can't be long today. Gosh, I'm already 45 minutes in. Imagine if I had talked about those 2 other subjects. So next week I'll talk about feedback. Feedback's an area where I'm not good and I'm trying to improve. And I was going to tell you guys how I was improving. So now I have a whole nother week to implement the things I've learned from Ed Nace's book. And teacher Christina Garcia, had a really good video out this weekend. I'm going to implement their plans and I'll let you know if my feedback's improved and how it's going. And also, if between now and next week, if you haven't already done this, send in a ticket to VIPKID and ask them what your teacher tags are so that you already know. And next week, we're going to talk about our teacher tags. Don't tell me now. I don't want to know. I want to know next week. We're going to talk about it. So I already have my topics for next week since I had to cut today short, but I'm not really short if I'm almost at 50 minutes. You're welcome, Danny. Kim, anyone wants to help me with an adult level 11, 45 minutes? Wow, never done it, so I can't help you. Did you get your teacher tags, Kelly? I did. I actually thought that they were on point. I was like, that sounds like me. That sounds exactly like me. But I'm not telling you what they are till next week. Yes, you should certify for level 1 and 2, Danny, especially when kids were doing exams. I usually do upper levels. I had a bunch of new students in level 1 and level 2. So anyways, if no one else has anything to say about pacing, I'll see you at everybody else's live this week, and I'll see you next week. And let's see, you're welcome, Marianne. Heather said, I almost did, but I didn't want to bother. Okay, it's probably about something else. All right. Bye, you guys. See you next week.